Let's see. Okay. All right, so let's see who's here. Hello, everybody. New Zealand, I love that. I love that. All right, I want to put this on my laptop. So give me 1 second. I got caught in some traffic. My deepest apologies for being late. Okay. Here we go. Laura Lee, you're logged in as me too, yeah? So you can record?
Yes, it's already recording, and I actually already put the live cast on Facebook also.
Okay, great. So welcome, everybody. And the topic for this afternoon is the Akashic Records. So I assume if you're here, it's because you've heard of what the Akashic Records are. Is there anybody that's here that doesn't know what the Akashic Records are? Like you just got here by accident, someone told you to come, seemed like a good idea.
I know something, but I would love to hear a little bit more about it.
Okay, beautiful. All right, here we go. So let me mute this. Okay, perfect. So the Akashic Records are basically the iCloud of your entire soul's journey through all time, space, dimensions. We've always considered that time is linear, but time actually occurs like a slinky. Like we have dimensions and they're on top of each other rather than like a past, a present, and a future. Things are occurring in a spiral, kind of like the DNA helix, the double helix. So what happens is when you have access to the Akashic Records, you're actually given access to your entire slinky. We can call it jumping timelines, if you will, where you can go into multiple timelines and you can see what it is that's going on, why you have the loves that you have, why you have the fears that you have, why you have the addictions that you have, why there are certain things that are really simple for you and other things that challenge the heck out of you. All of that information is available to you within your Akashic Records. What I do is I train people how to have access to their own Akashic Records. So you can learn how to read the records for yourself. You can also learn how to read the records for other people. You can learn how to teach other people to read the Akashic Records. When you have a relationship with the records, one of the things I discovered is that I'm actually one of the guardians of the records. So when I was 11 years old, my mom, I'm looking at my bookshelf because the book is sitting over there. My mom gave me a book called The Sleeping Prophet about Edgar Cayce. Anyone know who Edgar Cayce is? Has anyone ever read that book? Cool. All right, so let me just say a quick hello. Hi, Gail. Hi, Nina. Hi, Karine. Hi, sweet girl. Good to see you, my love. Hi, Elise. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Georgina.
Georgia.
Okay, gorgeous. Hi, Julie. Heidi. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Keston. Hi, Sherry. Laura Lee, thank you for being here, precious. Hi, Heather. Hi, Yvonne. Christine. Hi, beautiful.
Hello.
Hi, Jonna. Hi, Virginia. Ivan. Hi, sweet man. How fun to have you here. Ivan and I are part of a community called Channeling Jesus. We met a few years ago. So when I was 11 years old, I read this book. My sister read it as well. And they talked about the Akashic Records, and I didn't know why, but it rang a bell for me, like something that felt familiar. And at the time, I thought you had to go to India to get your Akashic Records read. And I was like, well, maybe in my lifetime that'll happen. And then in 2017, a girlfriend of mine named Tiffany posts on Facebook, and she's like, I just got trained to read the Akashic Records. And I was like, oh, get out of here. She said, I need volunteers to read records. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm texting her going, Tiffany, pick up the phone. Please, please, please. I need you to read my records. I'm like, how did you learn this? And she goes, well, there's a woman named Linda Howe And Linda, by the way, is my teacher. And she said, Linda trained so-and-so who trained so-and-so. So she was like a sixth generation of person. So I find Linda Howe and her quintessential book that's called How to Read the Akashic Records. It's orange. Then she has a book called Healing in the Records, and a third book that's called Your Soul Purpose in the Records. And Linda, start following Linda on social media. And then all of a sudden in January of 2018, she's offering a program, stupidly expensive, like a 4-digit class. I didn't care. I would have paid anything short of mortgaging my cat or selling him for science experiments to do this training. So I signed up for this class, and there's 48 of us from around the world. Literally, it's like this. You've got people from New Zealand, you've got people from Singapore, you've got people from Russia, you've got people all across the US, Canada, all over the place coming and doing this. The platform was called Learn It Live. And Spirit, I'm a psychic, a medium, and a full body trance channel. Spirit showed me being on this platform, talking to people exactly like what we're doing. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But then the pandemic came, and then it turned out to be Zoom. So Linda has this class, and it's 3 months, and we become advanced Akashic Records practitioners. And the very first time you learn to open the records by saying this prayer, I open the records, and there are these beings, and I see them, and they're like jumping up and down, and they're screaming, halls of Amenti, halls of Amenti, halls of Amenti. And I'm scared out of my ever-loving mind. And I closed the records really quickly, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what that was, but it terrified me. So I reach out to Linda, and I'm like, dear Linda, what the fuck just happened to me? She goes, Lynn, they're just really excited to see you. Ask them to slow down. And I'm like, I go back in, and I'm like, hello? Like I was like, what's happening? You know, I've seen stuff, but this was like crazy stuff. So I see these 7 beings sitting in a throne. They look like they're these big chairs, like made of black marble. And they're these hooded beings, and I can see the back of them. And I'm told that these are the lords of the record. So Linda said there were 4. I've seen 7. There are people that I know that have said they've seen 10. And they say to me, we're really excited to see you. And I was like, what's the halls of Amenti? And when you Google halls of Amenti, all you find are like copies of the Emerald Tablets and Thoth talking about the halls of Amenti. Guess what the halls of Amenti are? Does anybody know? The halls of Amenti is where the Akashic records were kept in Atlantis. And they're like, you're one of the guardians. You've been one of the keepers of the Akashic records. And I'm like, I've got goosebumps from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And they said, you're meant to teach people about the Akashic records. Atlantis isn't Ibiza. Yes, Julia, absolutely. So remnants of it. So I get trained to read the Akashic records, and I love that you're from Ibiza. I get trained to read the records, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm supposed to teach this to people. So when you learn to read the records, you are given direct access to your higher self. And you then have access to the masters, the teachers, and the loved ones. So the masters are like, a master is your higher self and your whole soul lineage of yourself across all time, space, and dimensions. Your teachers are the ones you come in and you have a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary lesson to work on in each lifetime. You have promises that you make about what it is that your soul is going to do. And people aren't afraid of dying because they think like life doesn't continue. They're afraid of going. Have any of you ever seen that movie, Defending Your Life? It was with Meryl Streep. It was made years ago. And in it, she's like this incredible being, and she saves people from burning houses. And then there's a man named Albert Brooks, and he plays this character, and he's like just an absolute disaster. But you do this life review, and you look at your life, and did you keep the promises that you said you were going to do about, you were going to master anger, and you were going to master your feelings of poverty, and you were going to master, being in abusive relationships. So you find yourself in these scenarios, and you're supposed to be able to bring yourself to a point of neutrality. But, damn, there's that thing called the ego, and you find yourself, you keep getting caught. You get caught up by all this, right? So the teachers, like Jesus is a teacher, and he teaches about love. He is one of the beings that is here as a teacher for us. Your masters are the ones that are of your soul lineage. So imagine that there's a tree, and the tree has roots, and then the tree has limbs, and then it has branches, and then it has leaves. So imagine that each one of your lifetimes is like a leaf on that tree. And the master is the tree itself. So you can talk to, whether you call it your true self or you call it your higher self. Everybody has this beingness in their life, the guides that are there to help you. And then you have your loved ones. So the loved ones are like your grandmother who died before you came in, and she's your mother's mother. And your whole life, she's been the one that's whispering, take the extra pair of stockings to work. And you're like, what? And she says, take the extra pair of stockings to work. And you don't realize it's your grandma. But when you go to lunch that day and you sit on a wooden chair and you sit up, and all of a sudden you tear your leg on the stocking, tear your stocking on the chair, you're like, oh, it's those voices that, it's called clairaudience. So when you learn to read the Akashic records, when you learn to have access to that realm, you start to increase what are called your clair abilities: clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance. And I have a technique that I've used to help people to open those. Right. Listen, this isn't what we're trained, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I want to create a school where children are brought in and they're taught you're clairvoyant, you're clairaudient, you're clairsentient, you're claircognizant. Let's teach you how to envelop and develop those skills. Let's teach you how to communicate with those who are across the veil. Let's teach you that there's a veil. Let's teach you what's actually real. Yes, telepathic, exactly. Aw, Venki's coming on. Venki is someone, another friend. Aw, oh my God, this is so fun. Joyce is coming in. Like old home week. I love this. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Venki. Friends and students that have been in these classes. So Venki is someone that has been doing this work with me for a couple of years now. She's an extraordinary artist who lives in Venki. I always get this wrong. Norway. Thank you. I keep wanting to say Netherlands, but it's Norway. And she has painted one of the most gorgeous pieces of art. I've been very, very blessed. I have gorgeous pieces of art that people have painted, and she sent me one of these paintings. And she gets together with another woman by the name of Jill, and every single week they're practicing these tools and techniques. She's incredible with reading the Akashic records. I'm delighted that you're here, my love. So when you decide that you want to have a relationship with the Akashic records, understand that they're calling you. You're called here by your soul. Your soul says, it's time for you to upgrade. It's time for you to step up in your abilities. So I have trained hundreds and hundreds of people. I've done thousands of readings. I've done this work for tens of thousands of hours because I've been doing it for 33 years. And I consider this to be the greatest thing that I can do. It literally, do you ever feel like in your life, you don't know why accidents keep happening, like this thing happens and that thing happens? Imagine that you've been driving your life as if your hands are on the rear view mirror instead of on the steering wheel. And you keep looking at the past and wondering why things aren't going well, and you keep having these accidents in front of you. Gaining access to the Akashic records is you take your hands off of the rear view mirror and you put it on the steering wheel, and you actually get to see what's happening, why you feel the way that you do, why you're afraid of the things that you are, why you love the things that you do. So I was terrified of spiders. Like if I was in a room and there was a tiny little black spider in the corner of the room, tiny little black spider, I'm out the door screaming, calling my mother on the cell phone, someone needs to kill the spider. So one day I learned to read the records, and I'm like, Masters, teachers, and loved ones, please show me why I'm so terrified of spiders. And they bring up this lifetime where I was practicing black magic, if you will, very dark lifetime. And I would create a poison potion and I would put it on the spiders, and I would have the spiders do my bidding for me and kill people with this poison. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dark. So there's a whole process that I have about how to do healing work, not just the reading of the records, but we call it Akashic healing, where you actually get to go into the past, you get to go in the future, you go into simultaneous lifetimes. Say you have an issue that's too much for you, you can call in 4 other aspects of self and ask to dole out the thing that's really heavy for you, and give 20% to one, 20% to another, 20% to another, 20% to another. So you only have what feels like the burden of 20% of it. Like, how cool is that? Like, you can negotiate anything when you're inside of your records. There's a realm where I teach people to go. It's called the place of planning, where all souls make their soul contracts, and you can renegotiate, complete, and make new soul contracts with beings. You can find out, like, why was Paris my favorite city? And why did I never want to go to Spain? Why did I want nothing to do with Germany? And then a soulmate shows up and he's from Germany. Great. Hate the language, hate the country, want nothing to do with it, you know? Why do we have the things that we love? Like, why did I get straight A's in Chinese in high school? It got me a scholarship to Georgetown University. How did I understand Chinese? I was this girl, I was a cheerleader from Huntington, Long Island. Like, are you kidding me? How did I know? Like, how did I know like how does that all happen? Well, you got all those lifetimes in China. Like, things happen like that. All right, who's this? Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Welcome. So, the Akashic Records to me is the greatest journey I've ever taken. And there are so many great books about the topic. There are so many ways to access, but I use Linda Howe's prayer. And she has made this very public. Her book is available. She teaches her course. She doesn't teach live anymore, from what I understand. She has a recording, and I showed up on one of the recordings. One of my students said, I decided I wanted to do Linda's course, and you were in there asking questions. So I remember one time I said to Linda, I'm fascinated by the asteroid belt. I don't know why, but I've got some kind of connection with the asteroid belt. She goes, stick to planet Earth, stick to this lifetime. Everything pours into this lifetime. And I was like, okay. So first chance I had, I opened the records and I asked about the asteroid belt because I'm a little bit of a misbehavior. So I found out that, you got to expand your mind for this one. At the time, I was a guardian of the planet that was that planet. And I got into a war with another being who was in charge of another planet, and he blew up my planet. And it was like that scene where Princess Leia watches Alderaan being blown up when Darth Vader, has the Death Star blow up her planet. I felt that. And Obi-Wan goes, there's a disturbance in the Force. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Totally geek, nerd, geek, totally. Sci-fi, anything like that. So going into the Akashic Records is like the single greatest journey of your life. I'm never lonely because all I have to do is close my eyes, say the prayer. And there was a point for me where the prayer literally came into my heart. I was doing a float. I was in a flotation tank, no sound, no light, nothing. You're just floating in salt water. And I was like, I wonder if I know the prayer yet. And all of a sudden, I literally felt the prayer fold into my heart, and I knew it, like I had it and I owned it. And the prayer becomes you. And when you do that, you literally have the keys to your own existence. You can find out any question you've ever had. You can help other people. That to me is some of the greatest service. To be able to know that I can do a reading for someone and help them find out why they have the pain. So here's my greatest Akashic story. My father had left my life. I guess he'd been gone out of my life for 11 years. He was living in Hawaii, and his girlfriend of 13 years said she was coming to New York. And my sister said, listen, Dad's coming to New York. He needs to be watched for 3 weeks. I'm going to watch him for a week. Our brother's going to watch him for a week. Can you watch him for a week? And I said, I can't. I have a restraining order. This man threatened my life. Like, I'm terrified of my father. My sister said, okay. She said, you do a lot to help other people with healing. Don't you think it's time to do some of your own? I don't know about you guys, but my sister and I were like fiercely competitive. And I was like, how dare she? This means war. Damn it, she's right. So I call one of my students, who's probably one of the most incredible readers that I've trained. And I said, Debbie, I need you to help me. Why am I so afraid of my father? She opens my records and she says, 493 years ago, this was 3 years ago, 493 years ago, you were his daughter in Lithuania. And I'm thinking, I don't even know where Lithuania is, for a good reason. And you were known for your beauty, and your father would sell you into prostitution. Men would come and lie with you. They would pay him in gold coin. And the only friend you had was the dressmaker, who would come once a month and make you these beautiful dresses to be able to receive men. Your father also had sex with you. He kept you in rags. He kept you in poverty. And there was a house staff. And one day a young man shows up, and you two fall madly in love. And he goes to your father and asks for your hand in marriage. And your father not only denies him, but says he can never come back. So you start passing notes between the house staff, and you make this elaborate plan for the two of you to run away. So the next time when the dressmaker comes, you say to her, I've met a man. We've fallen in love. He's going to take me away from all this. Will you please make me some clothes so I can leave with him? And she said, oh, darling, I'm so happy for you. Of course I will. And I give her some of the gold coin that I've stolen from my father's cabinet. And she walks out of the room. She leans against the door. She looks at the gold in her hand and she goes straight to your father and said she's trying to escape. Your father becomes enraged. He goes in the room. He pulls you by the hair. He drags you into the middle of town and has you stoned to death for stealing from him. And the final, blow that kills you is the one where your head is smashed and, you're looking in his eyes. And she said, and that's why you're scared of your father. I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's the detail that's available in the Akashic records. So I thought to myself, you know what? He can't harm me anymore. I'm a whole different person than I was, done a lot of healing. So he came to town and I saw him and he had really bad Alzheimer's and he looked at me and he's like, who's this? And he goes, oh, darling, I remember you. Well, the girlfriend who dropped him off never came back. So for the next 2 years, from 2019 to 2021, I ended up being the caregiver of my father. And the Alzheimer's and dementia was so severe. I kept having meetings with clients and he would walk into the room 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 times. And I said, Dad, we can't do this. He didn't have the money for us to have in-home care. So I had to put him in a home. And it broke my heart. It was really, really interesting. But I finally got him into this beautiful, beautiful home. And he just started to go. And we did a lot of healing with each other. And at one point they said, he hasn't eaten for 2 weeks. We're putting him into hospice. It's his time. And the final healing work that I did with him, some crazy stuff came up and came out. I reached out to him. And at this point, he was like, you're the oldest, right? And I said, yeah. I said, do you remember my name? And he said, no, I don't. It just gotten to that point. So I called one of my best friends and I said, look, my dad hasn't eaten for 2 years. She's a medium. I said, can you talk to his soul? And she says, sure. So he says, listen, I'm fine with what you're doing with my body. And unbeknownst to him, I had donated his body for medical, purposes. And I thought to myself, oh, how does he know what I'm doing with his body? Of course he does, because, they know everything from the other side. And he says, listen, you can't just throw me in the ocean. I want a party. He said, if you throw me a party, I'll let go. And I was like, okay. And my girlfriend says, I'm watching him and there's this elegant woman and she shimmies her shoulders at him. And that's my grandmother. And that's how they would always greet each other. They would shimmy their shoulders towards each other. And he walks towards her and she says, Lynn, literally, his garments fell off of his body. He became pure white light. She took his hand and they've walked away. And within 20 minutes, the home called and said, your father has passed. And then I reached out to my Kabbalah teacher and I said, listen, my father's just passed. Can you please say a prayer for him? Because when we pray for them on the other side, it's a huge boon for them. It's a boon for all of us. Them coming and reaching and helping us helps them in their elevation the same way it helps in our elevation. And my Kabbalah teacher said he let go because he didn't want to be a burden for you anymore, because I was paying way out of pocket for his care. So these are the contracts that get complete. So I go into my Akashic records and my father's like, thank you. Thank you for everything. And I said, I want you to know I forgive you. I've forgiven you for everything. And he said, do you know why I did what I did to you? And I said, no, why? And he said, because you asked me to. And I was like, damn. So there's a level of responsibility that happens for you when you're in the Akashic records, where you have to understand that everything that's ever happened, yeah, you're welcome, Catherine. Everything that's ever happened has happened because we have signed a contract, a soul contract, and said that we wanted to experience that. Laura Lee, there's a woman named Lynn Clark, Lynnne Clarke, who's trying to log into this. And my little Apple Watch is vibrating like crazy because she's trying to get in. Can you find her, my love, and just drop her the link? Thank you, baby. Laura Lee, by the way, is my chief operations officer. She is extraordinary, and I love her, and I thank her for being in my life. So going into the Akashic records and being able to do this healing with my dad, and what I had uncovered was childhood sexual abuse with my dad that I had not remembered for the longest time. And when I called him when he was still semi-conscious, I said, Dad, I want you to know that I had these memories of things that happened when I was an infant, between like 6 months old and 18 months old. And He goes, well, what happened? And I said, I'm not giving you details, you dirty old man. I said, but just know that, I forgive you. And he took a breath at that time and he said, I can never forgive myself. This man had gaslighted me my whole childhood, had said I was a liar and I made up stories, like all this stuff. So when it comes to the Akashic records, I sat down with my guides and they were like, oh yeah, you asked him to do all this with you. This is in balance for lifetimes when you've done this to others. Now, who wants to hear that? I'd much rather, my currency was victim, victim, victim. I would much rather tell the story of like, oh, this was done to me. And, Sandra Bernhardt with my hand on my forehead. But that's not the way it works. In the Akashic records, you are 100% responsible for everything that's ever happened to you. And when you can get to that level of responsibility, there is freedom like you will never believe. The healing that I've done, how I can now sit and be with another man or woman that has had a similar experience, the way I can hold them in a field of love with complete neutrality without getting triggered by my own, you know, drama from the past. That's what's available. So the journey into the records is healing yourself, helping other heal, taking a level of responsibility like you cannot believe. And there is nothing but truth. There is not ego that's there. There is just the facts, like an old television show called Dragnet, where they would say just the facts. So at this point, I'm going to ask Laura Lee. Laura Lee has already been in conversations with your higher selves. There's one of you that has been chosen to have me read your records. So here's the caveat for me reading records on the platform today. We're simulcasting on Facebook. So whatever happens in this conversation is going to be on Facebook. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay with being read in front of another, that's what's about to happen. So please do me a favor, drop a yes in the chat if you would like to volunteer to be someone that Laura Lee will choose. And then she's going to have a conversation because Laura Lee is more psychic than she's ever possibly imagined. And again, if we don't get a chance to read to you today, please come back because it would be my delight to do that. I have students that read, some that are really, really, I mean, everybody's extraordinary, but some that are really, really enjoying doing it. Christine is one of the students. Let's see who else is here. Elise is incredible with reading the records. Heather is just getting trained. Joyce is also extraordinary. Venki's out of this world. Laura Lee's really good at it too. So if you don't get read by me today, there's a chance for you to be read by others. You can also, purchase a session if you want to. And I have students that charge from $111. I charge $1,222, but you get so much more than just a reading with me. If you want to be trained, we have that available to you too. If you ever wanted to be a healer and you feel like this is something that you want to do with your life, we can talk to you about that as well. So, okay, Laura Lee, you're on, baby.
And my little antennas tell me that Catherine is the one today.
Okay. So can you please bring Catherine forward? Hi, Catherine.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
You're welcome. So listen, for those of you who didn't get chosen, stick around because this is going to be pretty incredible. I'm already getting goosebumps. Her guides are already showing up. Catherine, here's how this goes. There's a prayer that I'm going to say. Part of it is going to be aloud and part of it is going to be silent. And then I'm going to open up and I'm going to bring forth your masters, teachers, and loved ones. So it isn't going to be Lynn and my dazzling personality because I am an oracle. So I am displaced. I am an unconscious channel. So it'll be one of your masters, teachers, and loved ones that are going to come forth to do this reading. I'm going to ask you to ask a question that's going to be self-interested. In other words, why does my boyfriend do this? Or why did my mother do that? Or why is my sister such a jerk? No, it's why did I choose a mother that is this way? Or a boyfriend or a husband or a father or a son or a daughter or like whatever. Like what was your part in it? Why do I have a love of this? Why do I have a fear of that? Why do I have an addiction to this? Why can't I stop thinking about that? A question that you want to know about your life. And then they'll bring forth this information. And they'll probably tell you like where it started, when it started, all that. Don't say it now because I don't want to engage my ego. Ego and I are going to take back seat. We kind of like peer over the edge, like what's happening. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Laura Lee's dropping a if you guys look, even if you want to pick my brain, even if you have questions you want to ask, if you want to know more about this whole field of endeavor, I've been doing this for 33 years, since 1989. I have 29 certificates. I am a licensed reverend. I'm a hypnotist. I'm a, many, many times over certified spiritual consultant. But really, what I am is someone who witnesses people. I have the gift with my claircognizance of being able to see your highest timeline and your highest expression of self. And what I do is I step out into the future of that with you, and then we turn around and we pull you to that. So that's the kind of work I do. And that's what I train people to do. And I have an incredible collection of students and clients and people that love to do this work. So if you're here, you're not here by accident. I'm a needle in a haystack. And then, yeah, and Laura Lee says, and boom, your life changes forever. So listen, there really needs to be a warning label that comes with me, like warning, warning. Your entire life will change. I promise you, if you stick around, your entire life will change for the better. And it may be a little bit like growing pains in the interim, but I promise it's all good. Your soul has asked for this. Whew. All right. So Catherine, my love, I need your full legal name.
Sure, it's Catherine Teresa Conforti. If you want me to
Catherine
type it
Teresa
out.
Conforti.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In Toronto, Canada.
Oh, beautiful.
Mhm.
Okay. I went to high school with Confortis down here on Long Island. I'm sure you're all Italians from
Yeah.
back. Okay. Catherine Teresa Conforti. Okay. So I'm gonna say the prayer. I'm gonna bring forth your masters, teachers, and loved ones, and then have a question or two ready for them, and we'll see what they have to say. All right. So I want to thank you all for being here. I'm gonna go away for a little while, and then I'll be back. Oh my God, my crown is like on fire. Woo! It's gonna be a good one. Okay. Ooh, I'm starting to get teary. Call upon Saint Germain and the violet flame. Saint Germain, I ask you to surround all of us with your gorgeous violet ray. Violet flame, come forth. Violet flame, come forth. Violet flame, come forth. I ask you to cleanse and to purify all of us. May our consciousness be in alignment with light, love, peace, and truth. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of those connected to us. Everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know Catherine in the light of the Akashic records, to see Catherine through the eyes of the Lords of the records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Catherine have for her. The records are now open. Greetings, beloved. Beloved, we are delighted to be with you in this format, in this circumstance. We thank you for coming forth. We thank you for hearing our call to be in conversation with you, beloved one. Beloved, understand that we are with you always. We hear the thoughts that you think. We understand choices that you have made. We understand the fears that you have. We understand the dreams and aspirations that you have. And understand, precious being of love, we are here to assist you. So come forth, precious one, and tell us, what is it that you would like to know?
It is such a blessing to connect with you. Thank you so much.
Indeed, indeed.
And I'm curious about the anxious sensations that I feel, that I've been feeling since I was 9, when I would be getting panic attacks. And of course, I'm physically okay, I'm physically healthy, but
Yes.
I always get this anxious feeling of restricting my own breathing. And I'm wondering, why does my body just resort to doing that?
So, beloved, please understand that the ways in which this has been labeled as a panic attack, it is not quite that. This is not a word that should be applied to this. What it is an influx of energy that has been suppressed because of lifetimes of being strangled to death. It catches within your throat. Understand, beloved, that you, having been trained at the temples in Egypt, there's an entire lineage of high priestesses that you have emerged from. You would use your vocalizations to manifest, to bring forth certain circumstances. You would program crystals using your voices. And there was a time in a desire for you to have your powers taken from you that you were literally strangled to death. So there's a place where there is a feeling of anxiety, as you refer to it. It is a blockage. It is a place that is stopped within the throat. You know how it is very uncomfortable for you to have anything around your neck, anything that touches you in that way. There is a place where you have a voice that you wish to speak with that at times feels stifled for you. Yes? So what we would recommend, beloved, is that you allow yourself to begin to soften. Know that that pattern will not be repeated in this incarnation. In fact, this incarnation is the one in which you are here to heal it. And there are many who are here that are present with you now, many that exist in your lineage that can help you to not only remove that place of stoppage and blockage of the energy flow, but to help bring you back into the fullness of remembering who you actually are. Understand that the goddess Hathor is one of the priestesses, one of the goddesses with whom you trained. So allow yourself to become familiar with her, and you can call upon her to help you with the reconciliation and the righting of the energy flows within your own physical dynamic, which will then allow you to move into the ways in which energy is used and manipulated by you. Manipulation, not having a negative connotation, but a way of bringing things into maturation, manifestation, shall we say. So when you begin to look into the area of your throat, notice that there is an energy. It feels much like a collar. There was a way that you were collared and you were suppressed. You will find that there have been multiple lifetimes where if anyone attempts to cause you to want to shrink, you find there is a defiance within you saying, no, no, you cannot do that to me. And yet you have kept yourself diminutive in stature because there has been a fear within you that once again you would be found out for the power that you have, and afraid to manifest that and bring that forth, beloved one. But understand that you being here now, you have been called forth by us because we have been in negotiation with yourself, the aspect of self that says, I am ready to release the shackles. I'm ready to release the bindings. I have agreed to allow myself to bring forth my true power of greater service to existence. You are meant to be of service, beloved one. You are meant to be of grand service, and your voice and your ability to vocalize truth is something that lives and burns a fire deeply within you, does it not?
Yes, it does.
The way that you abhor anyone who wants to lie, the way that you feel the need to speak for those who cannot speak, you are attempting to speak for yourself, beloved. So as soon as you recover fully that voice for yourself, you will find that you will be able to help so many others do the same. Those feelings that you have called and labeled panic attacks, it is not that, beloved. All it is there is an energy that attempts to move and it is blocked and it is stopped. But once you learn to undo that and to release it, you will find that you will fly, you will be able to speak, you will be able to sing, you will be able to scream, you will be able to communicate that which is meant to be communicated by you for you being of service to the light.
Wow, you completely read me spot on. I've heard from other readings, I do have a strong connection with Hathor as well, so that definitely makes sense. So are you saying, like, by using my voice and by singing, that will help to heal me and others in the process as well.
Indeed, beloved. Indeed. Indeed. We would like you to find yourself singing. We would like you to stand in the light and allow the power of the golden sun to help you to bring forth and to melt the place where you have allowed yourself to be censured. Indeed.
Understood. Thank you so much. Another question, if I may ask, is I do feel a strong pull to Lemuria over Atlantis. Like I feel a more softer spot for Lemuria, and I was just wondering if what my background is with that.
Understand, beloved, that those who ended up in Egypt were those who were in Atlantis, and those who were in Atlantis were indeed in Lemuria before. Atlantis rose to a certain apex of power, and unfortunately, there was a destruction that occurred within Lemuria. The last known remnant of Lemuria that exists on what you know to now be beloved Gaia is the point of Kauai in the most northern of the Hawaiian Islands. Should you take a trip there, you will find yourself immersed in an energy that is quite familiar to you. Your empathy and your connection to Lemuria are grander for you. There was much turmoil that happened during your lifetime in Atlantis. And then when you were moved to Egypt, of course, that became a part of it as well. But beloved, the gifts that you carry inherent within you, your love of song, your love of crystals, and the magic that you are, flourished for you during your incarnations in that which is known as the land of Mu, Lemuria itself. So allow yourselves to go within and ask to be shown, what are the gifts that I cultivated when I lived in this land, and how may I bring them forth to again be of the greatest service to the light? And you will be greatly honored. Beloved, allow yourselves to look to pearls and shells and things of the ocean that are gifts from the sea. You will find yourself feeling at home.
Definitely agree with that, with the ocean and the waves, that
Yes.
deep connection even to the moon as well.
Yes.
I feel. So would you be able to share more about this training with Hathor that I received? Like, were we a part of a temple together? What was kind of, what did I learn there?
Beloved, it is an encyclopedia of that which you learned. When you allow yourself to remove the tamping down that you have agreed to within your own voice, you will allow the floodgates of wisdom to open to and for you. Beloved, allow yourself to be trained to have access to us. Allow yourself to come, and you will find knowledge of understanding how to manifest. You will allow yourself to have the knowledge of being able to see into the future, that which is desired to be made manifest. You can then step into that field dynamic and draw it to you, the art of manifestation. Allow yourself to understand that feelings and emotions that tend to get hooked or impinged upon a tender heart can be released very easily through an unbinding. Understand that they have been bound. You know the guidelines for unbinding that which has been bound. There is much, beloved. There is much that could fill an encyclopedia. This wisdom is within you if you are willing to allow yourself to remember. Are you willing to allow yourself to remember?
Well, certainly, I would love to continue exploring that information. It's just so beautiful, and I definitely feel myself getting closer to it every day. And also, Yeshua has been being a more stronger presence in my life as well. So I do feel like kind of a connection to when he was physically here during that lifetime. Did we have any sort of relation or connection during that time?
You were incarnate at the time that Yeshua walked the lands. There were a collection of women who studied. mm, Yeshua had trained Magdalene, and Magdalene was in charge of their studies. And you were one of the women within the village who studied with them. Allow your connection to Magdalene to be one that you begin to investigate, for you will find that she became his teacher in the process. She too studied in the temples in Egypt. She too has had multiple incarnations. She would be one that would be very close to your heart should you open to her energy. She will help you to remember.
Thank you. I definitely feel that, especially with Lynn's channelings that she does with both of them. I'm very drawn to them and I'm very grateful. And may I just have a name of who is speaking, if that's all right?
Betinka is the name that you would know us as.
Okay. Thank you.
Beloved, we thank you for your participation. We thank you for coming forth. We thank you. Call upon us, and we will continue to have conversations with you. Allow yourself, beloveds, to come to silence within and listen for us. Have conversations with us, and we will continue to answer your questions. We thank you. We honor you. We love you. Greetings and salutations, beloved one. Transmission is complete. Whew. Hold on, there's a closing prayer I need to do. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. Whew. Hi, guys. Did you get your questions answered, my dear?
That was incredible. I could not believe how pure and informative the messages were. Like they completely understood my life. So thank you so much for allowing that message to come through.
You're very welcome. It's my honor. It's my honor. So one of the things that I do is I celebrate Shabbat, and Shabbat is an honoring of my relationship with God through Yeshua and many others. And it's a time of going into silence. It's a time of fasting. It's a time of really honoring. So one of the greetings that we always say is Shabbat Shalom. So I thank you all for being here. I have deep appreciation for your presence, for your love, and you are welcome back anytime. Again, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like to communicate with any of my students. Okay, Joyce is saying, so many of my students are telling me I'm so different. They're feeling something magical, but there are not words. Good job, Joyce. Good job. Joyce went through my cornerstone program that is called Quantum Healing. And quantum healing is going to take you, it's like taking a tiger by a tail. It's going to teach you some really extraordinary gifts, and you're not going to be the same. That's for darn sure. Congratulations, Joyce. It's great to see you. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. I'm always a little out of it. Especially when I read the records. Because, I have with the dozen or so beings the Ascended Masters that I channel, I know them. We talk all the time. But when it comes to doing this with you guys, I have no idea who's coming in. It's like being taken on a magic carpet ride. I've worked with plant medicine for years, for like 30 years. And it's definitely like being on an ayahuasca journey. You are taken to another dimension. I am placed somewhere, and then they just come through. I have literally no recollection of what just was spoken, but all I know is that it feels beautiful. And I love seeing the smile on Catherine's face. So, hey, anybody have any questions? Nina, please unmute yourself.
Hi,
Oh,
that was amazing. Thank you. And I was curious, when you read the records for yourself, do you have no recollection too? Like, do you have to record?
no, it's a very, very different experience. When I read for someone else, I don't go unconscious. And when I do healing sessions with my clients, my favorite clients are the clients that are trained to read the records, because I have them open their records, I open my records, and then together we go into their records, and I don't go unconscious. When I do a reading for someone like this, I go unconscious. But when I go in for myself, I have full recollection. And when I go in and do a healing with somebody, it's almost like, you know, that thing where someone's on a skateboard or someone's on a bicycle and they grab the edge of a truck and the truck's like driving down the street, or the car's driving down the street. It's like literally tailgating or tailwinding or whatever it is. When we go in to do Akashic healing with somebody, I open my records so they have the power of me and all of my guides. And then when they open their records and we go in together, that's the only time that I have full conscious recollection of what's happening. And, you know, not everybody, like, Joyce, are you an unconscious? Like, do you remember when you go into the records?
I do, but I'm considering like finding someone to practice with and go unconscious.
Beautiful.
I feel
So in the beginning, I was a conscious channel, and Jesus came along one day and he goes, look, here's the deal. If you're willing to become an unconscious channel, it means that you're just going to surrender your ego. You're going to trust. And I was like, trust what? That you guys aren't going to come in and like take over my body and that's the end of me? Because that was like my biggest fear. My ego was like, this is a really fucking bad idea. We're going to let some, you know, they're going to come in and take over, and it'll never be us again. And I was like, all right, calm down, everybody. So I just kind of negotiated with them. And it took me a few minutes to be able to say, like, yeah, I'm willing to fully trust that, like, this is okay. And you're not really the devil, and you really are who you say you are. But it took a few years. It took a few negotiations, you know. One of the most masterful channelers I've ever met is a man by the name of J.M. Hammer. And he literally had Jesus show up in his living room, golden portal opens, Jesus walks out, and he goes, he didn't need to say who he was. Like, I just knew who he was. And he said it took him 9 years to fully surrender. Jesus showed up to me in 1984 when I was 23 years old. And I just, he started talking to me, and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. I've been killed for this. I'm not doing this. We're not doing this. I'm not doing this. And then 2019, he woke me up at 3 a.m, literally 3 a.m, had me come downstairs, had me find his book, The Way of Mastery, that was sitting on my bookshelf that he channeled through JM. And he goes, find the author. And I looked in the front of the book, said Yeshua. And I said, it says you're the author. And he goes, no, find the channel. So, 2 hours and 20 minutes later, 5 a.m, I find JM Hammer awake in Bali. And I'm like, dear JM, my name's Lynn. I live in New York. And Jesus just woke me up. And he wants me to take a group of people. There were 33 of us that started this. Not kidding about the number. He wants me to take a group of us through your body of work. And he wants me to channel him. I'm asking for your permission. And he goes, first of all, it must be your time to walk with him. Second of all, you don't need my permission. They're his words, not mine. And I thought, oh my God, someone is humble. So 2 years ago, for the past 24 months at 9 a.m. every morning, there's a group of, I think there's like 15 or 20 of us left of the original 33 that started, but we get together every single morning and we review the lesson of the day and we read together. And then I channel Jesus or Magdalene or Mother Mary or Archangel Michael or Hathor or Isis or Venus or Athena or Sanat Kumara or Melchizedek. A whole bunch of beings that come through me. And there's other people that come on. Elise just brought a beautiful channeling message through this morning. And people come and practice channeling and deliver these gorgeous messages, and all the videos go on YouTube. So I have like 1,400 videos on YouTube. It's crazy. But the willingness to like, I don't remember what gets channeled in the morning because I said I'm willing to like let my ego be out of the way. Sorry, I'm just getting cold all of a sudden. I'm not like it's so funny. I am not in my body, they're in my body. And I come back and I'm like, my throat feels a little different from how they like used my throat differently, and I have to drink water, and then I either get hungry or thirsty or tired. What was your question? Did I answer your question? Sorry, Nina.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so envious of your hair. Look at me. I am like my entire life I've been like stick straight girl. I would pay for hair like yours. You have gorgeous hair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I love you guys. It is my absolute pleasure. Karina, it's so good to see you. I'm really glad you came, baby. And thank you all for being here. If we can be of service, please reach out. Let me just go through.
Sherry has a question.
Okay, Sherry, ask.
Hi,
Hi, honey.
so how do the masters and the teachers pull you in when you're dreaming and show you events coming up in your life?
I think that's a question you have to ask them, baby.
Oh, okay.
Because all I know is my whole life, when I remember my dreams, they're prophecies. Like all of a sudden I'm sitting in a room and I have deja vu and I go, oh my God, I remember
Yes.
when I dreamt this. So,
Yes, that's
you know,
what happened.
they're telling me right now, it's an aspect of claircognizance where
Okay.
you are meant to know things. You know, it's part of the psychic that you're unfolding right now. But I
Okay.
think it's a beautiful question to take to your round table and ask.
Okay, when we
And
get
please-
there, I will.
Cool. Please let me know. That's right. You guys haven't learned yet, but please
No.
let me know when you get the answer. In fact, when I come in to teach class in 2 weeks, let's
okay.
have you be the person that I do that with, and we'll ask that question of them. Okay?
Oh, okay. So don't ask that question
Oh no,
before class.
honey, you can go in right now and ask them. But I'm
Oh,
just saying,
okay.
I would love to have you ask, answer that question in class.
Oh, when you're in class. Okay, I will.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm going to come in for that class. It's my favorite class, and I know the girls are teaching it, but I kind of want to like,
Help.
yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I got to go drink some water. Thank you all for being here. I love you. Shabbat shalom. Blessings. You're welcome anytime. And if I can be of service in any way, please reach out to us. Much love, everybody, and happy holidays. May your holidays be merry and bright and joyful and warm. I'm freezing. I'm in New York. What's the temperature right now? It's 45 degrees. I'd rather be warm. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Much love, everybody. Take care.
You.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
You're so
Love
welcome.
you,
It's my
Lynn.
pleasure.
Bye.
Much love, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.